Assalamualaikum. So today we're going to look a new topic that is on the decrease in the shareholding. Actually, the decrease in the shareholding is in contrast with the increase in shareholding. As we know, the increase in the shareholding, which is a piecemeal acquisition, there is an additional shares. But for the decrease in the shareholding, this is where the holding company dispose the ordinary shares in the company. Okay, actually, there are two situations when there is a decrease in the shareholding. The first one, the company will remain as a subsidiary. Okay, remain as a subsidiary meaning that, for example, initially, the holding company acquired a subsidiary, and later, when they dispose, the status of the company still remain as a subsidiary, right? This is similar to what we have discussed under piecemeal acquisition, whereby during the year, the holding company dispose the subsidiary, but the percentage remain as a percentage of subsidiary. So that is the first situation. The second situation is where initially the holding company acquired the subsidiary, then later on when they dispose, the status of the company has changed from the subsidiary to the associate. Okay, so this is the scenario when we have a decrease in the shareholding. Okay, when we have a decrease in the shareholding, there are a few steps that we need to consider. Okay, so the first one, we need to calculate the goodwill on consolidation. So when we want to calculate the goodwill on consolidation, the status of the company initially are a subsidiary, right? So for example, the holding company acquired 800,000 of the ordinary share capital of the subsidiary, and the ordinary share capital in the subsidiary is 1 million. Okay, 800,000 divided by 1 million. So the percentage of acquisition will be 80%. That is 800 divided by 1,000, or 800,000 divided by 1 million, right? Okay, therefore the status of the company is the subsidiary. So we need to calculate the goodwill as usual. That will be the first step. Okay, the second step, we need to calculate the equity interest. Okay, we need to calculate the equity interest. So when we calculate the equity interest, example you can see here, this is a diagram. Okay, you can see a diagram. We need to calculate the equity interest. This is where we have before disposal, and then we have disposal, then after disposal. Okay, when we have before disposal, actually we have two row here. We have column for holding as well as the column for G. H referring to the holding, G is for the group. So our main concern is actually for the group, right? This one. Okay, before disposal, as I mentioned just now, the company acquired 800,000, so divided by 1 million. So the percentage of acquisition, actually this one, right? So 800 divided by 1 million, 80%. So when the company dispose 480,000 of the ordinary shares, so we will divide it by 1,000 in the column of G, that is a group, and 800 in the column of holding. If you can see, right, this one same with this one. Okay, this one will be similar with this one. Okay, so now the disposal will be in the holding will be 60%, whereby in the group will be 48%. And when we want to calculate the status of the company after disposal, we will look at the row of the group. So now 80% minus 48%, we get 32%. So the status have changed from the subsidiary to the associate. Okay, that is how you calculate the percentage. Okay, now we will move to uh, step number 3. Okay, for step number 3, we need to calculate gain or loss on disposal to the holding. Okay, to the holding. So we will compare the sales proceed with the carrying value of investment. Carrying value of investment. Okay, this is how you calculate your carrying value of investment. The consideration transfer meaning that the purchase price of the initial acquisition times disposal rate at holding. So disposal rate at holding, this one if we look at the example, that will be 60%. Then you get the amount, then you compare, and that will be the gain on disposal. If it is a positive, gain on disposal to the holding. Alright, okay, that will be step number 3. Now we move to step number 4. Okay, for step number 4, we need to calculate gain or loss on disposal to the group. Okay, this one, it depends whether the company change the status from sub to sub or sub to ASO. Okay, sub to sub or sub to ASO. If the status of the company remain as a subsidiary, meaning that this is considered as a remain as a subsidiary because sub to sub. So you need to calculate this one. Okay, this is your computation. But if you check from the question, the status change from sub to ASO, so you need to calculate this one. Right? That's why if you look here, step number 4, both I put it as a step number 4, right? So this is either or. So depending on the status of the company. So for example, if you look here, the first one, this is where it remain as a subsidiary. Okay, it's remain as a subsidiary. So you need to calculate gain or loss on disposal to the group, where you will compare your sales proceed less your net asset at the disposal date, which consists of your ordinary share, right here, your ordinary share, your retained profit brought forward, current year, because we want to find out the net asset at the disposal date. Okay, normally it occurs during the year. Then you get a total, and then you times the percentage here. Okay, the percentage. So the percentage referring to the difference in the acquisition. Okay, difference in acquisition. Right. So for example here, uh, initially 80%, so depend the dispose 60%, right? So the difference will be 20%, and then you get gain or loss on disposal. Okay, that will be step number 4. And you will do this calculation if it is sub to sub or it's remain as a subsidiary. Right? Okay, now we look what happen if the company change from the subsidiary to ASO. Okay, so if the status of the company change from the subsidiary to ASO, so it's still step number 4, right? But you don't calculate here, right? You don't calculate this formula. You will use this formula because this is sub to ASO, right? So when you calculate the gain or loss on disposal to the group, this will be formula for sub to ASO, where your item will be sales proceed. You will add with the fair value of remaining shares. Okay, how you calculate your fair value of remaining shares? you will take your acquisition minus disposal, right? Then you get your remaining shares and then times with the fair value. So you get your fair value of remaining shares, right? And then you less with your net asset at disposal date, which consists of your ordinary share, other reserve. This is actually just like your calculation of goodwill, right? And then you total up everything and you times with percentage, and this percentage referring to the percentage of the first acquisition. So in this case, the percentage that you will times will be 80% because initially the company acquired 80%, right? And then you compare, you get gain or loss on disposal. That will be your item or step number 4. So again, I would like to highlight step number 4. You have here two, right? But you only record one depending on the status of the company. If the status of the company remain as a subsidiary, you will calculate this one, right? That's why I put it as a adjustment if sub to sub. Whereas if you find out that the status of the company change from sub to sub, so you will use this formula to calculate gain or loss on disposal to the group. Alright?